Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Patrons video today that I'm making for Dinnerhe as part of a custom monthly music review. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves the album from Taylor Swift titled Reputation. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I know that Taylor Swift is quite one of the most successful pop stars in the world at the moment. I haven't really listened to much of her stuff. I listened to her stuff in the 2000s and stuff, when maybe the 2000s when she, am I tripping? Like 2000, very late 2000s, early 2010s. I haven't listened to more of her recent stuff. It just hasn't been on my radar, but I'm keen to hear Getaway Car today. This is the track off of the Reputation album, and we're going to listen through it from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. And let's go, Getaway Car.
It was the best of times, the worst of crimes. I struck a match and blew your mind, but I didn't mean it, and you didn't see it. The ties were black, the lies were white, in shades of gray and candlelight. I wanted to leave him, I needed a reason. X marks the spot where we fell apart. He poisoned the well, I was lying to myself. I knew it from the first, old-fashioned, we were cursed. We never had a shotgun shot in the dark. You were driving the getaway car, we were flying, but we never get far. Don't pretend it's such a mystery. Think about the place where you first met me. Riding in a getaway car, there were sirens in the beat of your heart. Should've known I'd be the first to leave. Think about the place where you first met me.
I understand why she's successful. I'm going to try not to pause as much, but there's some fundamentals I'll talk about in the conclusion analysis section there that are present here. There's a formula to this, and I can see it. I can hear it.
Great escape, the prison break, the light of freedom on my face, but you weren't thinking, and I was just drinking. Well, he was running after us, I was screaming, go, go, go. But with three of us, honey, it's a sideshow, and a circus ain't a love story, and now we're both sorry. We're both sorry. X marks the spot where we fell apart. He poisoned the well, every man for himself. I knew it from the first, old-fashioned, we were cursed. It hit you like a shotgun shot to the heart. You were driving the getaway car, we were flying, but we never get far. Don't pretend it's such a mystery. Think about the place where you first met me. Riding in a getaway car, there were sirens in the beat of your heart. Should've known I'd be the first to leave. Think about the place where you first met me.
I like the double tracking some of those chorus vocal parts.
No, they never get far. No, nothing good starts in a getaway car. We were just
Key change.
Bonnie and Clyde, until I switched to the other side, to the other side. It's no surprise I turned you in, 'cause us traitors never win.
That was a nice major lift there. Was that a parallel, was it?
I'm in a getaway car. I left you in the motel bar, put the money in a bag and I stole the keys. That was the last time you ever saw me. Driving the getaway car, we were flying, but we never get far. Don't pretend it's such a mystery. Think about the place where you first met me. Riding in a getaway car, there were sirens in the beat of your heart. Should've known I'd be the first to leave. Think about the place where you first met me. In a getaway car, no, they never get far. No, nothing good starts in a getaway car. I was riding in a getaway car, I was crying. In a getaway car, I was dying. In a getaway car, said goodbye. In a getaway car, riding. In a getaway car, I was crying. In a getaway car, I was dying. In a getaway car, said goodbye. In a getaway car.
Great transition to the oscillating bass, the sequent bass and the kicks there. I think that was cool. That was nice. I've just realized again I can put the album art bigger on the screen. So this is the album art for Reputation. In case you are not a Taylor Swift fan and unfamiliar with it, I like this track. I think there's stuff to appreciate within it. We're going to talk about that more in the analysis and conclusion section. Because welcome to the conclusion section where I talk about the track. This one's titled Getaway Car. Now, what do I think it's about? I get the impression, talking about the Getaway Car, that it's about like a three-way kind of a menage a trois where like you have like Taylor Swift and there was this old guy that she used to be with. And he kind of did some stuff that poisoned the well or kind of ruined things. And so like maybe she found sort of a home in somewhere else or in someone else, and then they were in a getaway car. She was she's trying to get away from that situation, and she was maybe using that other person to be able to do that. But then she was like, nothing good ever comes in a getaway car. So maybe things went badly for her in that, even though she was trying to get away from a bad situation. I'm not sure. I mean, that's my take on it. I think that the vocal style was solid in this. There was like the synth modulation of vocoder stuff at the start there, which was just an interesting way to start a song. The texture there was unexpected. A lot of people have sort of, I mean, as I'm more used to her sort of clean vocals without the filtering and stuff, so it was great to have that to begin. I think that we had like lots of different ways of approaching that style. Like we had the vocals in the center, and on occasion we'd double track them for a bit of extra sort of power. Then we'd harmonize it into the chorus sections, and then at the end of some of the tails, she'd call and respond with vocals on the side there, which is like a classic thing to do, to sort of surround yourself in the headphones and the singing in different parts of it, so you're kind of following it around, and that's kind of taking your fancy. I think the way we sung, it's very much her style, where she doesn't over embellish things. She's got a little bit of legato technique. There's some interesting sort of melodic tails and stuff like that. And I think she handles herself well for the most part in sort of head and chest voice there. And she's got like a variation where the way she expresses herself is not all the same all the time. It's not monotonous by any means. I think that she manages to sort of keep her own way of doing things whilst also catering to the needs of the track in regards to both the sort of synthetic kind of synth bass and drum elements there. It's solid. I think that the song itself, at 3 minutes 15, it's 53. It's in between the 2 to 4 minute sweet spot there. So we were we were within what's typically expected. I mean, it's a bit longer than the typical song nowadays, but I think we had enough of range compositionally, structurally for us to get over the mark with it. We had like verses and choruses. We had intro with the voice and then verse and choruses. And we had like the key change, I think, in the interlude section there, which was kind of dope. It was kind of nice to have a bit of a twist in the tail. It's like a fundamental like of modern composition to have that adjustment in the interlude, and often people will stay within the same key sig. It can be a nice way to sort of spice things up, to sort of like go from that. Often people can then either stay in that different key sig for the final chorus to sort of like change things. I'm not sure if we did, but I don't know if it would have made sense for that to be the case, because it was a sadder part where she was talking about dying in that car, figuratively. I'm not sure, but either way, I think structurally it makes sense, and I don't think there's any filler within this. The track mainly consists of drums, bass, and synths, whether it's sort of bass sequences or sort of pad parts there. And we had, I'm sure we potentially had some leads in there. There's some interesting wow kind of synths there where they kind of like the envelope forces the pitch down over time there, which is kind of fun. And it's a nice sort of long held technique there, that note. It's just that one note, which is wow. It's just a lot of effort put into making one instrument interesting by not having it be the same, if that makes sense there. It kind of carries you even during like chorus sections where we would basically have the lines repeated. Granted, we aren't doing the same thing every single time within the choruses, as Taylor Swift is aware that too much repetition is not necessarily ideal. But you know, like, so I think that the synths themselves were interesting there. We chose fun ways to present them. That when we had them, they typically were either sort of poly or monophonic there. When they were polyphonic there, they instantiated that chord progression in a way that wasn't too overwhelming there. The bass was the predominant focus there with the drums there. That set the root note. And the synths were like, the pads were like the color on top and everything like that. I think that we set that precedent with Taylor's vocals at the start there. We had the bass in the lower end there with the dun 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 dun, that sequence there oscillating in the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. It could even have been 16th and 1. It was 16th actually, so it's quite it was a bit of a slow song there, but not in a way that was detrimental. I think that groove there, that movement forward, was kind of like just great to listen to. It was a satisfying oscillation that just continued, and when it wasn't there, you noticed it wasn't there, but it was enough to maintain a sense of compositional diversity throughout the track. Yeah, niched one alone with the sub bass there. The drum kit, drums were relatively like, I mean, they were punchy, but they weren't over the top. We didn't have a huge amount of range with that. We might have had some sort of snare fills or something like that, but not too much. It was enough to be able to appreciate it again when it was there, to keep a pace moving forward there, to sort of accent the quarter notes or eighth notes there whenever Taylor needed to. And yeah, essentially the drums serve the purpose as an accompaniment alongside the bass with a bit of color from the synth part. So it's very sort of the synth layers there. It's fine, then it's changed, and there was some occasional bits of decoration, maybe from alternate sort of like ingredients, but ultimately those are the main ones alongside Taylor's vocals. And when I look at the track overall, I listen to this and I think, what does this altogether sound like? What is the main theme there? It's relatively neutral. It isn't really pushing for a specific direction emotionally. It's trying to be cool and chic and sophisticated there. It's trying to be fashionable and sort of like hold on to a lot of what is working well, and or at least what was working well in 2017 for modern pop music at that time. I don't think it was necessarily trying to commit too closely to the bit that Taylor was discussing there. You'd think there'd be a bit more sort of like drama in that situation, and that you'd have some sort of edgier sounding harmonies or chord choices or something like that. It was kind of like we were underplaying or underrepresenting what we were trying to sort of discuss, or maybe it's just so normal for Taylor to be in these situations that is what the chord progression was like. But either way, it was fine. Ultimately, it's a track where we had ourselves a chord progression that was fairly neutral, and we had a similar chord progression throughout, you know, including like the key changes and stuff like that. We had sort of the dum bum 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 or something along those lines. It's not an uncommon chord progression in pop music there. It works. People enjoy listening to it. It's pleasant. It's palatable. And when you combine the variations of the vocal performance and the tones of the vocals, as well as the kind of catchy tune for combination of the bass, synths, and drums there, and how well they work together, I think it makes sense that this track is quite likable. The studio recording, mixing and mastering, I mean, it's clearly commercial grade. There's a really clean tone on the vocals there. I don't know what preamp she's using, what preamp Taylor is using. I imagine it will be a very expensive microphone with a very expensive preamp. I mean, either way, it's not for me to judge, but it's really well handled there. Just the clarity of that voice is phenomenal there. I think there's something to be said. I think part of what makes these musicians sound like this is that they have access to that one sort of sound there that people associate with major labels and commercial grade stuff in $1 million studios, like a U87 or something like that. There's a sound to it that you don't quite get until you get up to that level. But it also could just be complete BS, and she might have recorded it on something kind of average, and she might just have a mixing engineer with the capacity to be able to make it sound like that regardless. I don't know. Either way, sounded great. Everything was nicely niched within a frequency spectrum. Things were nicely balanced in the stereo field there, with movement as well as panning and various positions of things there to keep things entertaining, I suppose. There was dynamic range to this, but it was mixed very tightly, and the bus compression limiting was handled. It was still nice and loud. And I mean, effectively, this is my review of this track from an actor named Taylor Swift, titled Getaway Car, off of the album Reputation, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show Taylor Swift some love via their various social medias and their Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as either hell more than ever thought of crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next CC Patrons video. Spiderhands out.